All right, is that any better? That looks better. Well, we'll start that all again then. Welcome to the first Game Day Squad, the round two Game Day Squad show for football. Um, we're going to run through all that was round one, and then we're going to go into a bit of a game by game review to see who we should be playing, who we should be dropping. Make sure you jump in on the comments on YouTube. It's going to be as interactive as possible. Even answer other people's questions if you feel like it. We'll go through a bit of a round ranking for each position. If you guys have already read Zonald's blog for the week, he has them in there, but I've added mine as well. So we'll go through that, compare where we stand, and then we'll do a team reveal at the end. So make sure you are jumping in with your comments, your questions, everything like that, so we can make this as interactive as possible. So, firstly, take a look at the goalkeepers from last round. Now, there were a few things that we learnt from the goalkeepers. The main thing was that clean sheets are crucial for scoring. We probably knew that already, but I guess going into round one, I was thinking maybe a goalkeeper could make up for not having a clean sheet by making lots of saves, aerial duels, those kind of stats. But if you look at the data, the top nine keepers are the only nine keepers who kept a clean sheet. So, uh, yeah, Zonald, we'll jump to point three. Sanchez is probably going to be an all right keeper. Even if he's a terrible keeper, stat wise, he does enough to stay in sides. The other thing is there's huge variation in the goalkeeper scoring. Like Raya at the best keeper went 27 points, which is huge. But then 10th place, who's still a respectable score, was Leno with only 10.25 points. So that's like a 2.5 more times score on Raya compared to Leno. So that's going to like completely annihilate any multiplier that you're putting on a player. So it just kind of cements how important picking the right players are as opposed to picking the right rarities. Evening, Jonathan. Welcome to the chat. Now, did everyone who managed to snag the top keepers this week? Did anyone go 1-2? I doubt it, but I reckon a lot of people would have gone Raya. I went Raya, and I had Allison as well. 50-50 games with the favorite team might be the way to go. Yeah, I think that's a great call, Zonald. 50-50 games with 50-50 games with the favorite team, because that way, hopefully they get the win clean sheet, but then also they'll probably have a bit of action down their end. All right, then in terms of defenders, there was again some massive scores. Dan Ballard was the highest scorer of the round, I believe, with a goal. He had basically the perfect game for a defender. He scored a goal, clean sheet, and lots of involvements. I think he had a couple of shots on target, which is huge for a defender. Will he be able to do that again? I don't know, but it's gonna. I don't know if it's a one-off, but I think he's a genuine option. Um, the big name that I really liked, which I'm sure a lot of people did as well, was Van Dijk. He was just a monster in a side that didn't have a clean sheet. He still managed 19.25, and he like 2 goals conceded and still managed that massive score. So in a game where he'll be able to kind of have the same kind of effect and just keep a clean sheet, I think he could just be. I think he is the number one defender for me. Um, anyone anyone play Ballard last round? I don't reckon many people did, to be honest. And in the midfield, this was the area that I think hurt a lot of people, just because a lot of the big names weren't in the top 10. Um, I think most people would have maybe considered Bruno down at number 10, but the ones above it, there was like Palmer, all those guys who just didn't fire, and it probably cost a lot of people. So one thing that we did learn is that you do need to have some kind of attacking involvement to get up there with the top scorers. I think everyone bar one of those top 10 had a goal or an assist. So without that, I think going into round one, I was thinking maybe some of those defensive midfielders could, make up for it with other stats, but you do really still need to kind of have at least one kind of goal involvement to be up there with the top 10. And then with the forwards, it basically, unsurprisingly, goals are the key to big scores, which we probably like we knew that going in. So it means that probably focusing on the matchup is the biggest thing for forwards. Most of the big names were pretty reliable here. We had Haaland, Salah, uh, Wood. I guess I had him down as a big name. I don't know if many people did. All scoring goals, multiple goals in some instances. So I think that the forward line we can have, sit pretty reliably. But the midfield is where it's going to be a challenge. So in terms of looking forward to round two, I've just got the predicted lineups here from Fantasy Football Scout. .co.uk, which is the place I use to find my predicted lineups. Obviously, they're not 100%, but they're super useful if you're just trying to consider a roughie or something like that. Um, in terms of West Ham versus Chelsea, first game early tomorrow morning, I think this is a really tasty option for Chelsea's attacking options. So Pedro, Palmer, uh, all those guys, I think they're going to get in the goals and goals assists pretty comfortably. West Ham really struggled last week against a newly promoted side, so it's going to be tough again for them. And if Chelsea can capitalize on that, I think it could be some big scores for their forwards. Anyone? I assume a lot of people are looking at Palmer, or is anyone dropping Palmer this week? Do you think? Um, Obviously, pretty underwhelming last week, but you can't drop him if you have him. He's one of the best players in the league. He's You need to play him. And the next game, which is actually at a decent time for us in Australia, it's Man City versus Spurs, which should be a good game, I reckon. Now, one thing that we do need to worry about with this game, though, is pep roulette, which has been a problem for us already. A lot of City players that we expected to play round one didn't play. Um, the likes of Bob and Doku probably didn't have them down as a starting 11, but that they're predicted to be playing again because it worked well for them. In saying that, Pep obviously likes to mix things up, so it's a bit of a risk picking anyone apart from probably Haaland's the main one you'd be considering a safe lock. But all those other kind of wingers and forwards for City and even some of the midfielders, it's going to be a bit touch and go, and it's really annoying that this isn't the first game. So then we can see the lineups. It's the second game, so we'll just have to lock in our teams before that. Now, I think this is going to be a bit of a goal fest. This one, I think it will probably be like a 4-2 or something like that. Would be my prediction. City winning, just because I know that like City's obviously great, but they can be a bit shaky down defense. So I reckon there's a chance that some of those Spurs players will sneak a goal. Uh, yeah, Yeah, you're not. Tell you what, he'd be pretty stiff if he didn't start after last week. He was pretty incredible. I had him in my challenger side, Regendra, and he he's probably part of the reason I did so well because he was probably a bit of a unique pick, and I I just had him on there because he was one of the better cards I had left to kind of fit into my side, so it worked out perfectly for me. Now, Bournemouth versus Wolves. This could be a great fantasy game for us because I think that some of the forwards for Bournemouth are going to be putting in goals again. I don't trust Wolves down back. I think I think like Taverner will be a good option. He scored well in a loss. So if he can get the win, then obviously that's going to help his scoring. Um, but yeah, is there anything like any Wolves players that anyone would consider at this point? Make sure you jump in the chat if you have any comments, questions, anything like that. Here we go. Man Gaming's asking if anyone can help him with some players. If you can, obviously jump over maybe to the Game Day Squad Discord and get in touch, and I'm sure they'd appreciate that. Now, Brentford versus Aston Villa. This is a game where the Aston Villa forward line looked very tempting to me. Now, I think I'll be starting Watkins over Rogers purely just for the cards options that I have. But I don't know about you guys. Zonald in the chat, could you start both? Is that too much? Hey MJ, I need help. 1 to 15. I don't know what you mean, Cal. But who I had Rogers at one point. Okay. I just really like this matchup. Um, just too many good options this week in the forward line. Yeah, you're probably right. But I think with, well, I'll show you my side at the end. But I think if you just go the standard options, you're probably going to just sit with everyone else. Sorry. Um, Now, Burnley versus Sunderland. Oh, all 15 spots, right. Well, in that case, just send me your password and I'll sort it out for you. Hey, no, don't do that. Um, Now, obviously, we talked about it before, but Ballard, the top scorer for last round, um, he had the perfect game, and I mean against Burnley could happen again, but it's very unlikely. It's just a lot of the stars kind of aligned for him with the goal, few shots on target, and the clean sheet. So you could pick him again, but I think it's maybe just a one off. In this game though, Shaka is I think he could be a decent option because it's a newly promoted like playoff, and he's got a lot of experience, so he could be, you know, carving it up in there. Um, I don't mind him as an option. I just don't have a place for him, but it could be a really good unique for you guys. Um, And then, yeah, there could be some good points of difference there for you. Yeah. Zonald's basically giving away all of his secrets here, so make sure you read this. Agree on Chaka, good chance to rack up a lot of niche game day squad stats. Yeah. Now with Arsenal leads, this is an area where I'm kind of focusing my forwards. I think in Arsenal, um, I think they're starting to kind of form a good forward attack with their pivot man up front, and I think that the goals will come with Gyökeres and Saka. I reckon they'll both score and maybe even assist each other as well. So they're both starting. Well, I think they're going to both start for me. My side's changed a fair bit over the course of the you know since the end of the last lockout. Um, Raya down back as well in goals. I think he's a pretty safe option. Probably going to keep a clean sheet this game. The only thing is he might not get as much involvement to kind of push him right up the list, but I think he's a pretty safe bet. The other one that I quite like in this game is Declan Rice, just because of his ability to kind of rack up points in all areas. So he'll be pushing forward to assist, um, and he can also drop back and get some of those defensive stats as well. So he's a nice little option that I don't even know if he's really a unique anymore, but he's a decent pick for me. Thoughts on Odegaard? Another good option, I think. I prefer Rice over him. I think. Uh, but I I think it's definitely a viable option. Just have a look. How did he go last week? Sorry, I've just got the stats up here. So he scored 10 last week with one shot on target and a key pass, it looks like, but no goal involvements. But that could change easily, especially in this game. So definitely a good shout there, Ganners. Um, yeah. So moving on to the next game, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. So this game is very defender heavy for fantasy options, I think. Um, I've got one I think that I'm starting. I think I'm starting Mitchell maybe. But that could change. Um, but yeah, it's definitely one that's probably gonna be low scoring, I reckon. Possibly even like a nil or draw type game. Obviously, no Eze playing for Crystal Palace with the move. Um, but does that change things for other players? I don't really know. Um, but one player that would be in a lot of sides probably after last week is Wood up front. He's going to come up against a tougher defense this week, so it's going to be harder for him to score, especially a brace like he did last week. But he's still in red hot form, and who knows, could be a good unique option. Well, there we go. Trying to do business in the chat. Great work. Love it. All right. Now, Everton versus Brighton. Um, I really like Tarkowski in this game. I know that a lot of people have him rated pretty highly. Um, him and Pickford seem like they would have scored great if they had managed to keep the clean sheet. Um, and they they hopefully will get a fair bit of involvement this game as well, just with Brighton pushing forward a fair bit. Now, I know that Zonald is really hot on O'Reilly in this game. There's quite a few midfielders there for Brighton who are viable options. And I'm really interested to see Jack Grealish in this game, just because I think he's predicted to start for them this game. He didn't start last game, and it will be good to see what he actually does, what kind of role he has, how much he pushes forward. Um, yeah, I don't think anyone should start him yet, but he's definitely, he could be unleashed now that he's at a new club. So one to watch. Um, all right, then we move into Fulham versus United. Now, this is another game where the attacking options are going to be great, the United ones. Um, Sorry, I just jumped back to a question in the chat. Which Arsenal mid should we start? I I like Declan Rice, but I think like Odegaard's also a very good option. I don't think you can kind of go wrong either way. And it's probably just going to be more of you know, a, you get lucky with which one you pick. So yeah, maybe just aim for whichever one you have the better card for. I'd say. Um, Donald. Yeah, I'm also interested in Grealish in this game, which has nothing to do with the legend card of his. Well, hopefully for you, he's kind of slots in, maybe lifts Everton's game a bit and kind of gives them a bit more attacking option. But yeah, with the Fulham versus United game, this is why we're talking about having too many forward options and possibly midfield options as well for this round, and it's going to be tough to get it right. So I really like the midfield options for United this week with Bruno and Buemo, but I don't know if I can find room for both of them. Uh, what's everyone else's thoughts? Let's just jump in the chat when you have a thought. In terms of Fulham, though, Leno could be a decent option just because he's gonna be under attack a lot, and United struggled to kind of convert. So if they can do that, if that happens again, then that's just a lot of opportunity for Leno to kind of pick up and go big. The only problem is I can't see him keeping a clean sheet. So it's it's a high risk, high reward kind of move for me. Um, the one thing that I did like from last round was Bruno, who had a good score without getting a goal or an assist. So that means that in a game where they're probably going to be more likely to score more goals, he will hopefully be involved in that, and then he'll just elevate his score even further. Now that moves us to, I think, is this the final game of the round, the Newcastle versus Liverpool game, which will be a big game for a lot of us fantasy players, I think. Um, Two strong keeper options here, but maybe not in this round. It's kind of hard to say because they're both going to be, um, it's I don't know if it's going to be either of them are going to keep a clean sheet. Uh, One thing that I think is a lock is Van Dyke for me. Um, he's just dominating those extra stats. Those like little one pointers, half pointers, whatever it is. He's just racking them up, and then they're just adding up real quick, and he's getting big scores. So if he can then keep a clean sheet, he's just going to be huge. The other one that I'm big on, but I don't know if Zonald's as big on, is Salah this week, just because I see it as a low risk kind of pick. Because I think most people will be on him. So if he goes bad, a lot of people are going to go bad. If he goes good, you won't miss him. Um, the only thing is, with that strategy, you're taking up a slot. So if you're not convinced he's going to go good, you can take the risk, but it could kill your round. So in terms of our round two rankings, I've just listed mine and Zonald's top five for each position. And I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, who you're playing in each spot, whether you think we've missed anyone big. Starting off with the keepers, it's a pretty similar list for us. I think Raya's a pretty safe option, which makes him number one for me. I've then put Sanchez at number two, but I'm really surprised to see that Zonald had Sanchez at number four after everything he's said about him in the preseason. Looks like he's maybe had a change of heart. Um, but yeah, and then Trafford, he just looked for me last week. I didn't play or didn't consider him because I wasn't sure what the City backline keeper role would look like. But he looked good, and he looked like he'll hold his spot, and everything I've read says he will. So I think he definitely moves up the rank in my considerations now. Pickford, again, I think could have done better last week, but this week he's probably a much better chance to do well. And then for me, sneaky pick five, I have Leno, who's like I said, a high risk, high reward kind of thing, where he will be pretty unique, but there's a high chance that he'll be able to get a lot of action down his end. Zonald, on the other hand, has probably gone a bit more of a well, I don't know about a safer option. It's pretty similar. Um, so Raya, Pickford, Trafford, Sanchez, and then down at number five we have Sells, who's again another good pick. Yeah. So feel free to kind of share your thoughts and who you'll be picking. You don't have to. You can throw people off if you want and say that you're picking out someone else. But for me, I think I'm going Raya Sanchez. Just um, they they're two good picks. Now, in terms of defenders, this is where it kind of we had similar players, but slightly different orders. And for me, Van Dyke is number one defender. He should be, the first defender you pick, in my opinion, if you have him. Uh, Zonald still ranked him highly, but down at number three. I then had Ran at number two. And then Tarkowski, Saliba, just because of the matchup, I think, he could potentially, knock a goal in as well off a corner or something like that. And Mitchell at number five. Um, Similarly, well, not similarly, but Zonald, the first three, same picks, and then Cucurella and Trafford. So interesting to hear Zonald's opinion on those last two, why he put him in there when he gets around to it. Now, in terms of midfielders, This is one that I I didn't see, and that's having O'Reilly as the number one midfielder, which was Zonald's call. Big call, I think, but it could be a great shout. I've gone with Bruno Fernandez as my number one midfielder, just because, like I said, he's a player that can get involved in everything, and he scored well without, um, getting a goal involvement, score involvement. So I think this week, if he can get on the sheet, then he's going to go massive. Palmer, we've both got a number two. He had a terrible week last week, so I reckon a lot of people might be dropping him. So he should have a much better matchup this week. He should get involved. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets on the score sheet a couple of times just because he's that good. Both had Enzo at number three. Again, purely that matchup is just very nice. I had Buemo and Zonald had Declan Rice. Again, I'm big on Declan Rice. I don't know why I didn't have him on my top five. I probably should have, but I've got Gibbs White down there as like a sneaky, maybe unique pick. And then Zonald has Bruno at number five. Now, finally, got the forward options. So this is where I think there's probably the potential to have some big scores this week. I think we both agree that Haaland's probably the number one. He's probably just going to be a number one for every round, no matter what the matchup is, given his ability to score goals in any situation. But I've gone Salah number two just because of he's an absolute gun of a player that he's similar to Haaland, where he'll just get involved no matter what the situation. I noticed that Zonal doesn't have Salah on his top five at all. So that's a very interesting call. He's gone Rogers at number two. Again, that good matchup. We've both gone Saka at number three. Another good matchup. I've gone Pedro at number four, just because, again, matchup hopefully means goals, which we talked about earlier. If you look at the top scorers from last round, it's those that scored the most goals, which doesn't really surprise you. But it means you need to be looking at who's going to score goals as opposed to who's the big names. And then again at five, I've just got to pick there who I think will hopefully score a few goals. And then Zonald has Semenyo again, who, great week last week, hoping to back it up. We'll do a giveaway today as well. Yes, I will. So I'm gonna give away 3 common packs, common 9 packs, one to each person. So you have to be liking the channel, subscribe to the channel, comment or involved in the comments, which you are, and then also just like the Instagram as well. So yeah, we'll be doing that. But that basically wraps up the actual show, really. So I'm keen to just get involved in the chat now. So Gyok is gonna run riot this round from George. I think this might be his kind of announcement game where he kind of, shows himself, shows what he is. Hopefully, I'm hoping he doesn't turn into like a Darwin kind of player that had huge scores in other leagues, came to the Premier League and really struggled. So it's a lot of pressure on him, but I think from everything I've seen, he should go good. Also, here we go. Oh yeah, I just realized I haven't shared my lineup, but this is Zonald's current lineup. If you want to take a screenshot and copy and paste it. Fun fact: I actually beat Zonald by I think 1 point last round in the starter comp. So maybe you shouldn't be listening to him because maybe he doesn't know everything. He's good. Um, but yeah, I'll get my side up for you all just so you can critique. One thing that I have done this week is in my champion side. Last round, I played a lot of my legends because I thought that was going to be, my way to get ahead. But it definitely cost me because a lot of them either didn't play well or didn't play many minutes. So, um, what I'll do here is I'll get my screen up. Oh yeah, that's so forward line. Look, this is I won't lie. This is quite a good side. I've done a lot of pack opening, so I've managed to get quite a lot of good diamonds. Again, didn't mean much last week. I finished all right, but not in the top 10. Just because there's so many good players, because there's so many unique options that score well. So I've gone with Haaland, Salah, Saka, and Watkins up front. Um, it's that last spot, the fourth one, has kind of shifted around a bit. I had who did I have in there? I had Wood in there for a bit, but I think Watkins is more likely to score. Down to the midfield, I've got Gibbs White in there at the moment, and I rated him pretty highly, but I can see myself chickening out of that, to be honest. Um, Bruno, like I said, and Buemo. Um, and then yeah, Enzo as well. I would be playing Palmer if I had one, but I just straight up don't have one. So this is the best I can do. Down defenders, this is the area that has shifted around a lot for me as well. Obviously, like I said, big on Van Dijk. He's going to stay there no matter what, probably stay in that exact position on my field for the whole season if he plays. Uh, Ran down in defender 5. I actually only picked him up today, so that's why he's only sitting down the end, but he'll be pretty consistent for me in there as well. The last ones there is Mitchell, who he's one that's been dropping in and out. Kowski, who I really liked last week, apart from obviously, the end where he dropped a few points. And Shalabar as well, who's just that in that Chelsea defense where I think hopefully he'll keep a clean sheet, maybe get involved up front a little bit. Then in goals, I've gone Sanchez and Raya, purely just for I think they're the safer options this week. And in terms of with the goalkeepers, I think you don't want to take too many risks. The only like it's tricky because like Raya was probably a pretty sound option last week and he dominated, but there were other ones that dominated and were not probably sound picks. So it's yeah, who's everyone else aiming for keeper wise? I can see Ray Sells for Zonald. Anyone else game to share their squad? Look, if not, just make sure you jump over into the Discord and we can chat there about lineups, other options as well. Yeah, no Arsenal defenders. I That's mainly to do with the cards that I have, and I'm still kind of in that dumb mindset where I want to play diamonds over platinums where I can, which I really need to get out of because, as we saw from the scores, the multipliers mean not that much in football version of Game Day Squad. So, what I will do is I'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in and jumping in the chat. Lots of great questions, lots of great chat. Um, we'll take the discussion back over to the Game Day Squad Discord, and we'll keep chatting about lineups. You can post your teams. Um, yeah, Donald. I think he said he'll be hanging around for a little bit longer as well. So yeah, jump in the chat over there, and yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Jump over to the Game Day Society Instagram as well and like that. And then if you're liking both of them, then you're in the running. Oh, and you've been involved in this chat. You'll go in the running for one of those common packs, which will be announced next week. Next week. So good luck to everyone. Remember, lockout is very early tomorrow morning, so make sure you get all your squads sorted before you go to bed tonight. And yeah, thanks for joining in.